Good evening, everyone. I will call the regular town council meeting of Monday, August 26th to order at 5 p.m. So we have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or deletions?
I have none, your worship, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would Councillor be prepared to put forth a motion here? Councillor Good, your motion is?
Move the agenda as presented.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Okay, everyone's in favor. Okay, now we have the minutes of the August 12th, 2024 regular council meeting in front of us. You've had a chance to review those. Are there any edits to those minutes? If not. Councillor Good?
I'll move the minutes as presented.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
All those in favor of the minutes? Okay, they are carried. We don't have any public hearings today, no presentations. So now we're at bylaws, the code of conduct bylaw, number 2160, and Ms. Parsons.
Thank you, Mayor Manager, good evening, Council. So not too many changes from the last time that you saw this bylaw. Just a few that were made based on discussions from last review where I felt the majority of council had shown agreement. So section 21, it added some language about negative behaviors from members of council to other members of council administration or members of the public during council meetings. And just noting that that is only contemplating council's behavior strictly because this is the council code of conduct bylaw, so it's only with respect to council's behaviors and abilities, but in the procedural bylaw, that would be more extensive, talking about others at the meetings as well and how that would be handled. And then combining the sections 23 and 24 into one section. So now that's just a one section of 23, and then adjusting all the section references because of the reduction in sections. It just, you had to adjust the rest throughout. And that was it. So happy for questions, and people are happy with how it looks. We could go second and third tonight, or if further amendments are needed, we could do second with more amendments to come forward before third reading.
Thank you. Okay, questions? Councillor Ford?
I had read over this again, and I'm looking at under complaint procedure number 46. Says throughout the complaint procedure section of this bylaw where reference is made to the mayor, and the mayor is the subject of the complaint, it is understood that the deputy mayor will fill in the role, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what happens in the procedure if like all complaints, I've read that all complaints go to the mayor. But what if the mayor makes a complaint? How does that process work? Does that fall onto the deputy mayor and then the process follows through? Because I have never read that in here.
Yes. The mayor would then file it with the deputy mayor or turn it into themselves, I suppose.
So if that's what I didn't read was if the mayor files a complaint, then that complaint would go to the deputy mayor? Or how did, like I say, it doesn't say that in the bylaw. How is that handled?
I could certainly add that, but I mean, the mayor could just submit the complaint to themselves and bring it forward to a council meeting, just as anyone else would, and follow the procedures as outlined here.
I do think it's written in here what the mayor is to do with a complaint once it's received.
Yeah, I
So,
saw
you know, so if the mayor receives their own complaint,
You
then
would think
It
that
then
process
then
will go
leaves their
forward.
hands shortly after that.
it goes forward to council and follows the rest of the,
No, it's just,
that's the way I interpret it.
just had a question on the procedure, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
I just have two changes I would like to see made, with the input of everyone else, of course. The first one is strike number 21. I agree that needs to be under a procedural bylaw and needs to be, much more detailed when we get to that point. I would strike number 21, and on number 23B, I would like to see it read, respect the fact that administration works for the town as a corporate body, period, and, strike the rest of that sentence.
Which one is it?
That is number 23, B. It's page 5 of 16 or 34 of 140.
So this is a code of conduct with respect to councillor behavior. And sometimes I think it's good that it be laid down pretty well in black and white that councillors shouldn't be using the indecent, abusive, or insulting words or expressions toward another councillor, member of the administration, or any member of the public, including during council or committee meetings. And any breaches of this then go to the next section. I think it's important that that be specified, but maybe I'm.
Thank you, Mayor Manager. I would agree, and I would, strongly discourage, taking out any of that, with the exception under 21, striking out the amendment about the council and committee meetings, and any breaches being subject to the procedural bylaw. That amendment portion that's highlighted in red in the track changes document, I could see that coming out because that would be addressed in the procedural bylaw. But otherwise, I would strongly recommend leaving everything else as is, my professional opinion.
Okay, Deputy Mayor? on
I
21.
agree with that. That's actually kind of what I was thinking there. I just take the amendment out. The other one was in there before. Just take the amendment. I guess you don't strike the whole thing because the other part was in there before and that can be left. I agree with that. Sorry about that. That's mine missing. I
If
missed
I may
that.
ask, is that just removing the including during council, et cetera? Yeah, I'm fine with that. And what was the next one?
23B.
Okay, so the next one is, and as Ms. Parsons has mentioned, after the discussion last time, the old 23 and 24 were combined and made into 23, and B was the resulting main clause change in that kind of section. So
So-
Deputy Mayor, what are you saying with respect to that?
I'd like to see, I'm doing, as Dawn suggested was last, meeting. I took that and when he said he liked the word respect in there, so respect the fact that administration works for the town as a corporate body, period. And then the rest of the words could probably be taken out. I mean, we wanted to address respect for the body, and that's just my opinion.
Sure,
Councillor
my
Good?
opinion would be, because I can kind of see where you're going with that, but I do like that being in there, especially for, not for us necessarily, but a new counselor coming on who doesn't understand that the role of administration is specifically to do that. And unless, and even if they've gone to the Muni 101, which I've gone to a couple of times, it doesn't really emphasize that part. And this kind of clarifies it, that your job is to bring us your best opinion based on the things that you deal with, the law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have total freedom to disregard. We have total freedom to say, we don't agree with administration's direction. We don't agree with what they're telling us. But I want administration to feel absolutely unconstrained. And I mean this really respectfully, absolutely unconstrained on how they present their honest view to me. Whether or not I agree with it or not is really irrelevant to them telling me what they believe to be the truth. Or administration delivering what they believe to be the most accurate answer. So to have that in there that says that their job is to reflecting their professional expertise in a corporate perspective, I think it's good to have that because because I'm not limited by my actions afterwards. If it limited my response, then I could see taking it out, but it really doesn't. That's just my feeling.
Any other counselors? Okay, so, we have, 21, a suggested change. Other counselors, any opinions on that? Are you basically okay with, eliminating the part about any breaches of sections 2021, etc.? Anybody
So-
not okay with that?
So are we getting rid of all the red? Or just the first part of the red? Because I didn't quite understand.
You're getting rid of the last part of 21, the part that goes including during council meetings, et cetera.
All the
The
rest.
first part of it stays.
And we're gonna flesh it out.
I think it needs to keep the part about council and committee meetings, especially committee meetings. Because we should realize that, the code applies to our behavior in those meetings as
Well,
well.
the reason I'm okay with it going, if I may,
Mhm.
the reason I'm okay with that going is, it says that we shall treat administration member of the public with courtesy, dignity, and respect. It also says we won't, use indecent, abusive, or insulting words or expressions toward the same group of people. That applies everywhere.
Yeah.
So if we said, well, we want it on the bridge, or we wanted it in a number of different places, it's covered by the statement. So I don't think it adds anything to specify. Matter of fact, you could get into an argument that when you start pointing out the places where it's an offense, you're basically saying, unless you put after that, not exclusively, and you know, all that legal mumbo jumbo that says without limitation, this place, I think you're really almost muddying the water. So I think you could run into a problem by specifying especially one place, and then the person could argue, well, that's the only place you really meant for it to be. Then you gotta argue, no, that's not what I meant, it should be everywhere, but it already covers everywhere. And everywhere kind of includes everyone.
Okay, so if that's the way we interpret that, it would end at any member of the public, period.
Makes sense.
Any other
Yes.
comments? Okay, then with respect to 23, Deputy Mayor would like to state B as respect the fact that administration works only for the town as a corporate body. Is that where you want to stop? What was your thoughts on that, Deputy Mayor? 23B, the new.
Well, I think it does cover the fact that we're respecting them as a corporate body. The rest of it, I just kind of thought was kind of redundant on there. I mean, we're respecting them as a corporate body that should imply the rest. That's where my thoughts were going.
Okay, and Councillor Good, you're indicating that we should include charge with making recommendations that reflect the professional expertise and corporate perspective. That was
Yes,
what you
because
said,
I think
right?
that delineates their role, for people, especially like you say, not necessarily for people here, but for people that would come, especially new counselors.
Yeah.
Because if something came up, let's say administration first 2 meetings brings something and they say, well, you're supposed to be doing this, and they go, well, no, actually, this is our role. You can go and you can refer to the MJ, you can refer to a whole lot of places. The fact that it's here makes it real nice and clear. The next council could come along and change that if they wish, but I kind of like it there. I think it's a good delineation, and it doesn't limit, and it doesn't limit me.
Other councillors, Councillor
Sure.
Scanlon?
It does look like it's not two separate thoughts. It's a complete thought. So respect the fact that as an administration works for the town as a corporate body, and then kind of fleshes out so that when they are giving advice, when they are doing things, it is, and the use of the word professional in there is very important in particular. So you've got professional accountants, professional engineers, they also have their own, professional duties and whatever, and so in order for that to be kind of reminded as well in here, it's also referencing this statement is also referencing those professional duties that that administration has as well. And so that's why I believe that needs to stay, in particular, that word professional in there. It does give that implication that they are also following their own codes that they have.
Okay, any other comments on this clause? Councilor Boychuk.
If we look at the definition of administration and our definitions at the front of the bylaw, it means all town employees. So that's assuming that every town employee that presents to us is a professional or an expert in their area. So we may want to just fine tune that definition and maybe put that under a take it out of this point and put it under, you know, the administration that presents to council or something along that line, is separate the two.
So I guess, like, in common terms these days, we do know that we have certain professions that have their professional designation. But we also, tell, I think, most employees, well, it's your professional duty kind of thing to do your job to the best of your ability. So there's kind of a formal professional, and then there's the informal, which means that you're following your proper procedures and you're doing things the right way. So I don't know. How's it good?
You brought up an interesting point, Mark, because in I'm just gonna go back here to 21, or pardon me, to 23, oh, pardon me, to go back to 23, I just have to grab it here. I don't know what back and forth numbers, okay. Or 21, pardon me, which talked about administration, and administration is all town employees. I'm wondering, only because in a corporation, the administration of the company does not include the janitor. And I'm not saying the janitor is lesser or more, I'm saying that it's a delineation of roles, responsibilities, that administration to me administers. They do that, that's the function of administration, where a carpenter, a tradesman, etc., doesn't administer. They work for administration, they are directed by administration. But I'm wondering if there needs to be some, and I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty, well, I am kind of. I think you have to get into a bit more of a demonstration of what administration means. Because the definition here will apply, could be used to apply in other places. When I think of administration, I think of the CAO, the managers, etc., but it stops at lead hands. You know, lead hands and that aren't administration, so all employees covers the lead hands, it covers everybody in the whole organization. I get what you're trying to say, that they're separate from council, but I think they are also to a degree separate from administration.
But administration, in the context of this clause, 21 or whatever, it does follow from that definition, right? So
Well-
definition. So Ms. Parsons first, and then Councillor Ford, Councillor Scamboard.
In my opinion, I think that it's just being overthought a little bit. Administration can be the entire staff of the town, and we can still respect their professional expertise and that they represent a corporate perspective, whether you're going from, a lifeguard to the CAO, they're still going to be giving somebody their professional expertise and a corporate perspective from working for the town as a corporate body. They may not be presenting to council, but they're representative of themselves in their profession where town
And
has
the
hired
specification
them.
comes in the first line for the purposes of this bylaw, which limits it to the definition to this bylaw, am I correct? But well, it does, it says for the purpose of this bylaw, it doesn't say for the purposes of the other bylaw.
Absolutely.
So it does yeah, I see your point on that.
Okay, Councillor
I
Ford, then
changed my
Councillor.
mind. You're correct.
I was just gonna kind of reiterate on Counselor Good, because the, in the wording where Deputy Mayor wants to end, it says, where is it? administration or any member of the public, period. So those people would be covered under, anybody would be covered under whether you're administration or a member of the public. You're already all covered under that clause.
Counselor Scannell?
I was just gonna re-highlight that fact that the phrase corporate body, and this is again why I feel that, clause 23B needs to remain in its entirety, because it's all connected. So when we're talking about administration work for town as a corporate body, that means as a whole. So yes, perhaps, you know, the lifeguard on the floor at that time isn't gonna come present to council, but they function in the part of the corporate body, and their views or the machine operator's views on that particular thing would come up through administration and reach to us, should it be necessary, through that corporate body. So it all has to function together and it can't be separated. I mean, it would be in that, like I said, you wouldn't have those guys coming here to this room. But corporate body definitely means something important, and the other things need to be attached to that.
Okay, so with respect to administration, Councillor Boychuk, are you satisfied with leaving it the way it is, or? No?
Yeah, I am now that Kayla explained it that way.
Okay, with respect to the new 23B, who would still like to have part of it removed? Okay. Everyone else is more or less okay with leaving part B in its entirety?
That would come up in the vote to accept, and wait for a second reading too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get an idea of some
Okay.
efficient
What
use of
changes are to be
time,
made going
Oh,
forward?
I see.
if they are. Mhm. Okay, so we've got those 2 points. Any other points councillors would like to bring up at this time? Councillor Boychuk.
Sorry, I'm a nitpicker when it comes to certain things like this, just because I got a background in auditing and stuff, but we have a really good, under the general provisions, you know, we kind of talk a lot about how counselors should act. And yet then we highlight that again in many of these different things here, so we can maybe tweak, like say, for example, if we go back to 24 there, we can remove D, because it's already talked about up front, like not maliciously or falsely. We already talk about how our etiquette's gonna be and stuff like that. And right off the get-go, and then there's a couple we can use, like 21, we can remove no. So we already say that in our general definition of how we're gonna conduct ourselves. So I don't know if it needs repeated many times. That may be a way we can tighten this up and make it a little cleaner, just in my opinion.
So,
you.
okay, Councillor Scanlon.
Sure. So you mean you're talking clause 5 now, general provisions?
Correct.
So because that's stated there, you would remove clause 21.
Yeah, and any language about how we should be acting, we're already saying how we're gonna act with professionalism and our code, you know,
But
with integrity, accountability, and so we're not gonna use malicious language, we're not gonna attack people, we're not gonna be abusive in those ways, like that kind of spells that out, so I just thought that was a way we could kind of clean some things up and make it look.
well, I could argue that I'm acting with integrity if I'm calling someone an idiot, if they are an idiot, and to me, that's integrity. I think 21 should be there because that would preclude me from doing that, even say, look, that's what integrity is, you know what I mean? I feel like the general, clause 5 is like, okay, this is the general idea of how we would go out on the day to day. When we get into having to use the code of conduct bylaw, whereas somebody were actually to serve a complaint, I think the specificity of 21 would be very important to have.
Ms. Parsons.
So just a little bit more on that as well. With the regulation, there were certain sections that were mandatory. And so representing the town and respectful interactions with council member, staff, and the public and others were both mandatory sections. So it's difficult to take out language from one section because it's in the because there's some similar language in another section without then removing a mandatory section from underneath the regulation. So while I don't disagree that sometimes some parts of it can feel a little bit repetitive and well, it says over here, I'm supposed to act that way, and then it says over here, kind of the same thing. I don't necessarily disagree, but that's just meeting the standards of the regulation, and putting those clauses in, so I don't know how we help that.
I'm good with it.
Councilor Boychuk, any more thoughts?
No, I'll stand corrected.
Okay, any further comments on this before we perhaps put forth a motion for second reading?
If I were to do the motion, we agreed, part 21 was gonna have a period in it somewhere, correct?
Yes.
So
after
then-
Public.
And that has been noted, so if I were to make this motion as amended, is that how I would phrase that?
My recommendation, would be to perhaps either move second reading just as amended,
Okay,
and then no, I take that back, I'm sorry. To, do second reading with the exception of the, amendment, and I can put in the minutes, that section under section 21 that won't be included, like we won't amend that portion because that was one of the amendments shown, right?
Okay.
So, and then, and then all other amendments as demonstrated in the agenda. And then we can do third reading without any amendment.
okay, so
If
I
that
would
makes
just,
sense.
I'll just deliver the motion as is. As it's written in the,
So it will be as amended with the exception of amendment to clause 21.
okay, that I can,
Removing that amendment and then all other amendments as presented.
As we're amending the original.
I just wanna know what to say, you guys.
Yeah. Okay,
Just
so
tell me what to say.
Ms. Parsons, the motion is gonna read,
That council gives second reading to council code of conduct bylaw number 2160 as amended with the exception of the amendment to clause 21, which shall not be included.
Okay, I'll move that council give second reading to bylaw 2160, council code of conduct bylaw as amended for the exception of clause 21, which will remain unamended.
okay? Is everyone clear on the motion?
So this covers deputy mayor's concern.
On 21, yes.
No, they didn't, but they're
Well-
not changing it. That's what's going is,
Yeah,
that's what the motion said, that's,
yeah, so 21 will go back to its original form without the
that's
extra.
what she asked me if I was for it or not.
And then third reading can have
As is.
business about 21 being amended. I think, no?
No.
Okay.
That'll cover the concern then.
No.
No, this cut,
Yeah, it's gotta cover it somehow.
here we go.
All right, okay. So Deputy Mayor Shannon brought forward two concerns, one, section 21 and one in section 23. All of council was good with the concern that Deputy Mayor Shannon presented with section 21. So we're gonna not do that amendment and just scrap it. So that takes care of her concern for that. Section 23, council was agreeing with leaving the amendment as it is. So that does not address Deputy Mayor Shannon's concern. However, the rest of council acknowledged that they were okay with the way that it's written as amended. So it addresses the one.
So to make sure I'm understanding this properly, section 21 is going to read as it reads with the period at the end of the public and the rest of it's gone.
Correct.
Had to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone is now clear on what we're possibly voting on? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Okay, it is carried. So it is past second reading. Would someone like to propose third reading? Like, move third reading, Counselor Good.
I'll move third reading, etc.
Okay, so the third reading now means that we've changed 21.
Yep.
And we've left 23 as it stands, I believe. Okay. Any further discussion on that?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Just looking at the timeline on this, do we feel comfortable passing this along for the next council to more or less be upheld to this without any concerns? Because just asking on your guys' experience.
I do.
Okay,
I can't speak for anybody else, but I certainly do.
that's all I can.
I would say yes. I'm especially happy with the investigative part of things. It's been revised. A good part. Mhm. Any other comments to the counselor's question though? Okay, would someone be prepared to put forth a motion?
I did.
Oh, sorry, Counselor Good. So Counselor Good's motion would read, Ms. Parsons?
That council gives third reading to council code of conduct bylaw number 2116 as presented, because we're not making any amendments from the second reading.
Thank you. Okay, so we're clear on the motion. All of those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Okay, it is carried. Thank you, and I would like to thank administration for all your work on this. I know we have had a long-running discussion on this matter, and hopefully it is a document that next council will look at and know what their responsibilities are and what their behaviors, where their lines of communication and so on are, both with the public and with administration. And yeah, so, and I hope we never really have to use it, because, you know, quite frankly, it's horrendous when the council has to use a code of conduct. We had several situations in the news where other municipalities are looking at their codes because someone has brought up an issue. And that seems to be the way when we start to look at these documents in a new light and say, oh, how does this really work now that I've looked at the words that are written, and how am I really supposed to interpret it? So I'm hoping that we've got a document that a counselor coming on board for the first time is able to read it and figure out just how they're here, why they're here, and how to conduct themselves in particular. To all people, and again, thank you, administration. It's been a lot of work, and I'm sure a lot of research has gone into it. So thank you for your work. So we do not have any unfinished business, but the next one, Chief Harris is here about the 2024 Northern Heat Conference.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. So just a kind of quick briefing on the Northern Heat Conference and Trade Show. So this conference has been running since 1999 in various forms. In 2016, we rebranded it to the Northern Heat, and the HEAT stands for Hands-On Education and Awareness Training. So this conference, a 4-day conference, it's hosted by the Peace Regional Fire Chiefs, which is a group of fire chiefs from across the Northwest region, going from High Level to Slave Lake to Fox Creek to Grand Prairie. So large areas that come together to put this conference together. It's being centrally located. The municipality of Peace River is the host for the conference, which does bring some benefits to our town. The conference has two main components. There's 2 days of live fire training and 2 days of conference seminars and more practical training, and a trade show. So this year's conference actually will be running in a couple of weeks in September 11th to 14th. Traditionally, actually, for most of this previous history, this conference has been run in May, first week of May. Over the last few years, and especially last year in 2023, we found a lot of conflicts between wildfire season and the conference. And last year, as you're well aware, there was a lot of wildfires in the province. And we found that the first day of the sort of second part of the conference, all the firefighters were called back to their home municipalities, so everybody left. The vendors saw the smoke plume and the ash falling in town from the fire in North Sunrise County, and they wanted to leave from the trade show, so basically everybody left on the Friday of the conference. And this has happened not as much form as last year, but it has happened in previous years. So we thought we'll try and move it to September and hopefully get away from those conflicts. So fingers crossed for this year. So far, with the current kind of precipitation, we should be good for this year. So we're going to try it September and see what happens. So it does start on September 11th. For those who remember, September 11th, it's kind of celebrated but remembered in the fire department world because of what happened in New York and United States on September 11th, 2001, when the World Trade Center attacks. 343 firefighters were killed on that day. So we as a fire department hold a little ceremony on that day, and we will do that at the first day of the live fire training with all the other firefighters. There'll be a bell ceremony at the training yard. So yeah, two main components of the conference: the 2 days of live fire training, followed by 2 days of conference seminars. And the live fire training is conducted at the Peace River Fire Department's training facility on the West Hill. In that facility, we have a number of engineered structures which are designed specifically for live fire training. And then the briefing note kind of has more details on those structures. The phase one has a burn chamber raised above the observation chamber and allows firefighters to witness fire growth, fire behavior, flow path, ventilation control fires without actually being in the heat so much, but they do see the smoke effects of the smoke layers and that kind of thing. The phase two has the burn chamber on the same level, and it's more for simulating those on-grade fire attacks and entry into a building. And then the phase five is a two-story structure and can be used for demonstrating fires above grade, going to a fire on the first floor, and also going into that level and coming down to a basement fire. So we're very fortunate to have those structures in the town of Peace River. And we also, at the training yard, we have propane fueled fire props. So these are fueled by liquid propane. And advantage with these types of fires is that we can just repeat them very quickly. We just turn on, light the propane, it gives the fire effect, and then when the evolution is done, we just turn it off and turn it on again. There's no kind of clean up and reloading with those ones. So we have some props to go along with those. One is a vehicle, we have a propane tank, gas valve, a dumpster, that kind of thing. So live fire training, it can take up to 64 students in 4 groups, and they do a half a day on each of those stations. And all the instructors for the live fire are supplied by fire departments from across the region and across the province. And they're either coming on their own sort of vacation time, on their own dime, or they're sponsored by their municipality, sort of pay their regular wages to come if they're full-time firefighters. So there's no cost to the conference for the instructors, and that helps make it very affordable for the smaller departments up in the region that can't afford this kind of training in their local area. Another way that makes this conference affordable is we do get a lot of support from local businesses in donation of in-kind services or products. The Pond Hockey, actually for the tents that they donate to us, Peace Country Co-op, Platinum Fuels, Prairie Disposal, Tim Hortons, Renko, H&E Enterprises. Town of Peace River is obviously a big supporter of us in the facility and the wages of our staff and the public works assistant to do that. So there's a lot of good regional support for it, and that again helps reduce the cost for that. Also, any other supplies that we're purchasing for the training is purchased locally as well, so there's some business impact there as well. The instructors, I said, will supply, we do run it to an NFPA standard for live fire training, so it's a very strict standard, which is, we are certified to that level, and then it prevents any, or reduces the risk of injury and any incidents. So potentially 64 firefighters and another 50, say, people it takes to run that will be in town for those first 2 days. And then the second 2 days is the more sort of the conference, there's a trade show. Currently we have like 26 vendors exhibiting at the trade show. We have 3 streams of hands-on training, rope rescue, use of thermal imaging cameras for in fire scenes, and vehicle extrication. And then we have some conference seminars looking at leadership. That's provided by some renowned speakers from the United States coming up to teach that. And then the trade show is mentioned. So there is quite a big economic impact to the town for it. It does bring in that second 2 days, could be up to 180 firefighters in town, so using the hotels and the restaurants. So it is quite a good conference for that. So around September 11th to the 14th, I'd just like to invite any councillors that wish to come out and view some of the training. So the live fire training is kind of the exciting part, where you can see the fire and the smoke and the firefighters actioning that. So that runs on the Wednesday and Thursday, the 11th and 12th. And if anybody does wish to come observe it, just get in touch with me. I'll arrange a time, and then I will meet you on site and can explain everything that goes on. So yeah, unless there's any other questions, I just wanted to bring your attention to the conference.
Thank you. I know it's a well-attended conference. I think even last year, were you trying to showcase our new fire apparatus? Was it last year?
Yeah, so that's when they delivered it, that week. So it was just delivered. We had it up on display, ready for the trade show. And then all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And they left the trash. They just, the vendor, the guys who brought it up, they just left as well. They said, here you go, here's the truck, here's the keys.
And ran down the hill.
And then they left town, yeah, so we did have it. Actually took some really cool pictures of it. It was all set up at the trade show, and the really orange sky in the background from the smoke. It's quite a dramatic picture, so.
Well, it's had its uses since then too.
Yes, we've used it, especially this year, as you're probably well aware, we've had some major structure fires of residences in town. Having a ladder up there and being able to get above the fire with that high amount of water does have a lot quicker effect of knocking those fires down and reducing them. So that's sort of one of the main reasons we wanted that apparatus. People think it's more for the sort of rescues from the high balconies, that kind of thing, but we use it more for fire control or even just a residential fire. It's a big advantage to get over the top of the fire.
It looks well used, but I'm looking for councillors. Any comments? Councillor Ford?
I just want to reiterate that if you have the opportunity to take Chief Harris up on his invitation to see this live fire training, I've been to many of them, and it is absolutely incredible.
We have actually firefighters sort of registered so far from places like Minburn County, Beaumont County, Black St. Anne. In the past, we've had firefighters come from Hay River, from northeastern BC. So it is quite a well-known conference. It's almost the premier training conference in Western Alberta. So firefighters do come from a long way to be here and really enjoy the experience and really enjoy the town. As part of that, we're also organizing a kind of night at the brewery for one of the nights, and that's becoming quite popular as well, so.
I wonder, firefighters and a night at the brewery, I don't know.
Who thought food and beverages?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a shocker.
No, it's great that you're able to do that, because I'm sure there's many side conversations that really are professional in nature at those sorts of things, even if the location is a little different than usual.
Yeah, and it's throughout the conferences, that's the other part of it, is that networking that goes
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
And just making those contacts with other firefighters and firefighters love it, especially the new firefighters, sort of junior, young firefighters, they trade coins, they trade patches, they trade t-shirts. And it kind of builds up that brotherhood system of fire departments across the region.
well, thank you, and thank the fire department in general for all of the work that you've been doing, and council, I know in the past has been happy to support the location for the training facilities, realizing it's very beneficial for our firefighters to keep them safe as well when they're doing their jobs, and, you know, also to keep our communities safe. I will say that I have had occasion last, I don't know, week or so to meet firefighters from Mexico, and I think it was Costa Rica, we had the last bunch. And they seem to be fighting fires up north around high level and get their 2 days off a bit and come to Peace River. These two groups anyhow, so I don't know, hotel wise, maybe we've got space. But anyways, it's quite amazing to see these groups of firefighters, including our own town, who I'm sure were quite active out by the MD this year too,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and we have those firefighters, they come to the fire hall, and they want to
Yeah.
see the truck, and actually they were in on Friday, they came, one of the firefighters from Costa Rica. I was actually away that day, so I didn't meet them, but the guys showed me around the hall. And we actually had the aerial truck, the ladder truck out for a bit of training, so actually they saw that, and we gave them some rides up in the bucket as well, so they were pretty impressed, I've heard, and quite thankful. And last year we had a lot as well from Australia, New Zealand, all over.
Well, it's great that you were able to do that as well, and I'm sure they enjoy something a little different than keep on slugging away each day at their job, yes,
Yeah.
okay. So thank you very much, Chief Harris, and look forward to the HEAP conference this year, and we hope that things run smoothly, shall we say. And I did see an ad someplace that you were looking for pallets to ignite somehow or other. Are you still looking for pallets?
No, we.
Got enough?
We're
Inundated
be
with?
careful what you ask for.
Yes, indeed.
We have lots of pallets now,
Okay,
so we
great.
put out a thing, Stuart put out a notice to say thanks.
Thanks,
No.
we've got enough. Well, thank you very much, and good luck with the conference, and good luck working in the department for the rest of the year as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would someone be able to put forth a motion to accept the 2024 Northern Heat Conference briefing note for information?
So moved.
Councillor Ford so moves. Okay. Are we all clear on the motion? We're all, how many are in favor? It is carried. Thank you.
Say opposed first.
Yeah, I got your attention. Okay, next up, Mrs. Miller, the spring and fall cleanup trends.
Thank you, Worship. We just want to bring council a briefing note in advance of the fall cleanup. So the cleanup is scheduled for September 17th to 20th. We did a bit of analysis on the historical data, and you will see the weights and the costs that we've incurred. Largely the full cost from the spring of 2022. It looks like prior to the spring of 2022, we had our own staff doing the pickup, so we don't have a complete cost of those events. But moving forward now, you can see that the trend is pretty much going up. The fall, it seems like the weights in the fall are reducing. But costs are going up. I have a note here that the tipping costs from the landfill have tripled since 2020. So it was $35 a ton in 2020. It's 106 now. So the weights for this spring's total cost with the GFL plus our weights came in at $17,000. And of that, 7,000 was the tipping charges. Had we been subject to tipping charges that were a couple of years ago, that same cost would have been $1,860. So in short, costs are going up. Weights seem to be going down in the fall. We'll bring it back after this fall to see what kind of volume we collect, and then it'd be a service level discussion when it comes to budget time. It'll be something to be considered if we want to continue 2 times a year or reduce it to 1. And everybody clean up your garages and your yards and let's do a good cleanup again. More details will be out shortly, but it is the week of the 17th to the 20th. Thank you.
My just general impression is that people are putting more stuff out a bit early to do the walk by, ride by, and perhaps get something free that they can reuse, which is it's one of the 4 R's of recycling, so it's a good thing. Yeah, any further comments or discussion, questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Scannahorn?
So you made a kind of a point in there about the change from when people were dropping off versus curbside, and I wonder if one of the impacts of the dropping off is when it's curbside, it's kind of your stuff in your yard. When it's dropping off, I wonder how many people are bringing stuff there that maybe wouldn't normally apply to the dropping off because they may not be residents, they may be getting things dropped off, by residents, on behalf of them, or perhaps some commercial use or that regard. Do you believe that might have an impact?
Is that what used to happen prior to GFL picking it up? Was there a location that
Yes.
they would,
So occasionally it would be here at the Centennial parking lot. It has been in the yard of the old maintenance location. It's been in the yard of the waste management, the eco center rather. So it's had a couple different versions over time, so.
and so you're thinking perhaps maybe that's why the volume has dropped significantly?
Maybe that could be a
Possibly.
thing. Although, like I
But
said,
our costs are going up because of the labor.
yes, but
costs and
the put and take idea is grand. I mean, I've got a
Yeah.
barbecue that way and then put out my barbecue and it disappeared. So that's 2 barbecues that didn't end up, in
Yes.
the landfill right away, at least anyway, so.
I think they're working, we may have had a little bit of an incident this last pickup, so I think they're just looking at a way to make that program a bit more secure for the fall.
I think someone got clever and thought they'd get away with something, but anyways.
Okay, Councillor Good.
One thing that comes up quite often this time of year historically is the idea of a transfer station in town, because the recycle center has sort of lessened the amount of service that they're providing to the community historically since it first started. Things that they're taking and stuff. And there's some parallels, there's some analogies drawn that Grimshaw can just drive up from wherever they can, if you're a Grimshaw resident or whatever. Well, that's a flatland issue. And one of the difficulties I think people have with going up to northern Sunrise County is it's not a flatland issue. It's, even though it's probably the same distance, it's a whole lot different trying to haul something up a hill compared to flat landing it out somewhere. And has the town considered a transfer station or done any research on putting in a transfer station for waste management? I just don't know if it's been even looked at, because a lot of people, it's hard for them, they can get stuff a couple of blocks so they can get it in town, but then for them to leave town and have to do that is I've taken stuff out there and you don't know exactly where it is and you're trying to figure out from road signs where it is and stuff. It's not as easy as it would be if we had a transfer station proximal to the town. So I'm just bringing that up as something that we might want to take a look at. Not necessarily in this discussion, but I just wanted to put it out there that maybe we should examine what it would cost or what would be the benefits of a transfer station in town. So,
Any other comments? Okay, would someone perhaps be prepared to put forth a motion on the matter? Deputy Mayor, your motion?
Motion to move that council accept the spring and fall cleanup trends briefing note for information.
Thank you. All those in favor? It is carried. Thank you. Mrs. Miller, you're still on for Apex Security Month 1 report.
Thank you, Richard. I'm just gonna find where I am here, sorry. It's, okay, out of here. Okay, so, prelude to the June 24th meeting, council gave administration direction to enter into a 3-month pilot program with Apex offering 24/7 patrols, 2-person patrol with their public safety unit. It was launched on July 15th and so we have now completed 30 days of information and patrols. The information that's been coming to us actually is starting to have some meaning to me. The data is becoming useful. As I'm analyzing the data, it's been clearly identified that there are specific preferred dumpsters that are problematic that we will then now be focusing on to try to address those few problematic dumpsters, enforcing the bylaw where they're supposed to be locked. And similarly behind the thrift store, there's a problem with residents just dropping off articles for the thrift store, and it's very enticing to the street population. So we're going to be having a conversation with them as well and see how we can try to manage and control that from happening. Also have recognized that there are a couple of particular individuals that cause challenges overnight. And so now that we recognize, or I've been able to identify that there are a couple of particular persons that are causing much concern, then maybe we can try to direct some of specific wraparound care and supports to those specific individuals that we've identified. Other than that, it seems like they were busy the first 10 days, and it seems now, once they kind of got in the groove, most of the checks that they make note of on their daily report to me, most of them say all appears to be quiet and regular, or nothing to report. What else do I have here? The daily call report has identified a number of concerns which we're trying to address where the calls go. So as I've been looking and analyzing the calls, a number of them should have gone to the RCMP. So for example, there was a stolen vehicle, there was a squatter on private property, there was some stolen property found, there was somebody else trying to get into a home. So all of those truly should have gone to the RCMP. And then we did receive an email from a resident who just put that question forward: who are we supposed to call? Who does what? Which then prompted our who does what advertising on social media and our website to try to educate the residents. If it's something happening now and it's a crime, call 911. And we went through the list of bylaw and what public service security units do. So hopefully we'll see in the next few weeks of reporting, I'll see less and less of, ooh, that call should have went to the RCMP, because we don't want to risk somebody phoning the wrong place and not getting the service that needs to be at that moment. And other than that, they have done an outstanding job on encampments. So they have a process that they follow, they identify the encampments, they have a mapping system. And they have a set of process that they go through to, first visit the encampment, talk to the persons there, give notice, and then they're in cleaning the encampments out. So I will have a bit of a report again next time, actually how many encampments, but I would say in the first month, I don't think it would be a stretch to say at least 8 encampments were cleaned. And then they continue to go back to make sure that it remains inactive. So that's my report for now. I'm hoping, as I said, that the next month's report, I see a lot less of calling them when it should be the RCMP and then seeing subsequent responses to the RCMP.
Thank you. Councillors, questions, Councillor Ford?
When do we get to see the actual Apex monthly report?
Apex just gave me a report, but our agenda had already gone out. So,
Okay, no, I'm just wondering, when does that report come forward?
yeah,
So you're asking,
When
the
does the
detail,
report?
you're asking for the
The
detailed one that
report,
it,
yeah. For the data.
well, Apex gave me a report that I should be able, I haven't vetted it yet because we had already released our agenda, but I don't see why it would not be able to be included in the next agenda.
Yeah, no, that's what I was asking, because I didn't see a detailed report, but you just said that it was given to you after the fact. I was just wondering when we get to see that. Thank you.
okay, Councillor Good, you had a
Answer
question?
my question.
Okay. Any other, questions on the briefing notes? Okay, well, thank you, Mrs. Miller. And if someone would be prepared to put forth a motion on this matter. Councillor Good, your motion is?
I'll move the council accept the Apex Security Month 1 update for information.
Thank you. Okay, all of those in favor? It is carried, thank you. Mrs. Miller, gifts of recognition.
Your worship and council, I just want to bring to your attention, last week, we were actually, the town of Peace River was honored to receive 2 different gifts of recognition. The first being the mayor from the hamlet of Enterprise, Northwest Territories, Ms. Sandra McMaster. She attended town office to deliver 2 pieces of artwork in recognition of our ESS team support and the town of Peace River providing all that we did to the residents last year during the wildfire evacuations. And then subsequently, we were visited by the president of Peace River Rotaract, Ms. Louise McDonald, and she gave us a plaque to thank the town for their support during the first Rotaract days, River Days. And I just wanted to share that. And they have a fabulous hanging in our wall of recognition in the new building once we get there.
Great. Well, that was very nice of them to think of us at this point in time, because I think Enterprise is one of the, well, it's a hamlet that was evacuated and so on, and is still probably not really put back together as it was previously. And very nice of Rotaract to send us nice little plaque as well. And it's even got plaid, and 12-foot Davis has his shirt on. And I think maybe his shirt needs to reappear. Seems to me it disappeared someplace. Lovely beaded, they look like the tops of moccasin covers, but lovely. And, oh yes. So the wildfire one from Enterprise says, heartfelt thanks to the town of Peace River for your generous support and kindness to the residents of Enterprise. Your actions have positively impacted so many lives, and we are so grateful. Wildfire, August 2023, Hamlet of Enterprise. That's very good, and I think we could pass on our thanks as well as being part of the welcoming to Chamber of Commerce and Rotary, who really assisted with the barbecue that they put on for the people that were moving through for registrations and so on. So thank you, Mrs. Miller, and perhaps someone could put forth a motion on this one.
I will. I had the opportunity to drive through what was once Enterprise here in the early summer on a fishing adventure. And it's very devastating. Just the shops we used to, stop in at or whatever on our way through and that kind of thing, and how many are gone. And I was reading about a number of homes that were not insured and others that were, but people like, am I going to rebuild here? Potentially not. So we really, any opportunity we can to, support the activities of our, wildland and municipal fire departments that do prescribe burns early and get out front and make the town safe and the community safe from fire. It's so important. But just the intensity of that fire, and there's many places if you're driving along the highway up there that there's not even any fire regrowing. The fire was so intense that even this spring, nothing grew at all whatsoever in a lot of places between Enterprise and Hay River. It's just, really, really tough to see, unfortunately. As for a motion, I'll move that council accept the briefing note regarding gifts of recognition received by the town for information.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, everybody's clear on the motion. All those in favor of the motion? It is carried. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. Mrs. Miller, the 2024 Alberta Municipalities Convention resolutions.
Thank you, Your Worship. So before you and the agenda package, included in your agenda package is the book of resolutions that will be voted on at the AM conference in Red Deer this coming September. Actually, it's only a few weeks away. So it was just provided here for council to read through the resolutions and contemplate on how you think you'd like to vote or speak to them in advance of the conference.
Well, there's actually quite a few of them. I did not count them, but they go from 1 to 17, or no. There's 19 in one section and you said almost 30 in total. Some of the ones I just frankly took a glance through. There's one from the town of Rocky Mountain House, seconded by Sylvan Lake and Town of Legal. The very first one talks about code of conduct, and they're advocating that the province should put in an integrity or independent office of integrity to serve the public, elected officials and local governments officials in an advisory, educational, investigative role in the application and enforcement of council code of conduct. After our discussion tonight, that's kind of an interesting one. Another one that I thought, and I know the province is saying too bad, so sad, but there's one City of St. Albert and the town of Rocky Mountain House advocating that the government of Alberta to permit municipalities to utilize the vote counting system of their choice in the operation of their local elections, including automated counting systems to ensure accurate, cost-effective and timely results for the Albertan voters. So for those of you that might not be aware, the province has indicated that no voting counting technology machines will be able to be used. So I feel for the big cities, even a town of over 10,000, that's a lot of counts to try to get in. So I guess we expect delays in the final count and that. There's another one on the education property tax. Municipalities are supposed to collect this. We do this, collect it, hand it over to the provincial government. And City of St. Albert, town of Penhold is saying, well, maybe municipalities should be keeping that education tax because we have our own uses for it municipally. And since other things are going down, and maybe we need the monies too. And one that's been something I've been looking at for years, Town of High Prairie, Town of Mayerthorpe, they are saying that the province should pay its full share of taxes on its government buildings that are within municipalities. We'll see how that one goes. I think I've seen it before, but okay, so anyone else want to bring forth any that caught their eyes? There's lots of, Councilor Boychuk, please, yes.
I noticed there was a lot around supporting rural fire departments, around their mental health and equipment, radios and stuff. That looked quite interesting, and the shelter system. And it's much needed and required, I think, for us.
Yeah, so this one, City of Red Deer, Town of Hinton, it's resolved that Alberta municipalities advocate to the government of Alberta and the Minister of Seniors, Community and Social Services to create a comprehensive emergency shelter strategy for the entire province. This detailed strategy will provide a vision, guiding principles, objectives, definitions, project management governance, and role of clarity for the provincial and municipal governments and applicable community stakeholders. Would that be one?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I think there's always some discussion back and forth between municipalities and the province as to who's responsible for that type of housing and so on, right? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Different ones? Counselor Good? You're fine. Okay. Good to know. There was one here that I kind of don't know what to think about. Town of Innisfail, City of Red Deer. Alberta municipalities advocate the government of Alberta to fund Alberta municipalities or a third-party organization to develop and maintain a database that provides an inventory of all culture, sport, and recreational facilities in Alberta, and that the government of Alberta use that inventory database to benchmark and make strategic and evidence-based decisions on investments in the culture, sport, and recreation infrastructure.
Interesting.
So I'm kind of of two minds about this. Okay, everything goes into this big pot of assets. And then your community of 6,600 says we need a new recreation center, and it serves a population of maybe 15,000. Some other one walks in and says, we need a recreation center and ours is serving 20,000. Is that the way you would compare them to say who gets the money for it or just what? So I don't know. I can see the value of it for someone to know what everybody has, but we already have asset management lists and stuff that are getting reported to the province. So you would think they could compile from there as well, but so I don't know.
Yeah.
There's water strategy, which could be an interesting one. Also, might not know, but goldfish are considered pests when they're released into natural ponds and whatnot. They just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they take over the pond. So there is a resolution here that asks the government of Alberta for emergency approval of the dry form retina to address the goldfish and invasive aquatic species infestation in stormwater pond systems. So we please ask any resident, do not release goldfish. This is coming from Sylvan Lake and the town of Bentley. But I know St. Albert has had a big problem with that in some of their ponds. And it's very hard, frankly, to get rid of the goldfish. And that kind of thing. Okay. There's another one here. They're all quite interesting. Anyways, this one has extended municipal voting rights to permanent residents. So City of Calgary and Town of Penhold. Alberta municipalities advocate to the government of Alberta to amend the Local Authorities Elections Act to expand voter eligibility to include individuals who have been granted Canadian permanent resident status. So right now in Canada, permanent residents cannot vote. Internationally, though, there looks like there's, I don't know, 15 countries, including USA, depending on the state, United Kingdom, Germany, Ireland, Netherlands, Israel, et cetera, that permanent residents do have the right to vote. permanent residents pay taxes, we want them to be here, we take full advantage of their expertise and they're working in various, communities. They own houses, they contribute to the community, so I can't vote them. So I don't know, there's probably an argument the other way, but, we'll see.
Make an argument for people who have businesses downtown.
Mhm.
You can make an argument for people who have businesses downtown and work outside of the town borders, that they should have a voting rights. Just saying.
The same. Okay, apparently, there's another one here, City of Cold Lake, Town of Bonnyville. Alberta municipalities advocate for the government of Alberta to reinstate Alberta Healthcare Insurance Plan coverage for mandatory driver medical exams for Albertans aged 75 and older. Apparently it was there at one time and it's lost now. So there's an older population that is probably kind of interested in some of that. There's another one on learner's license, City of Brooks, Town of Sexsmith, advocating the provincial government to review its learner's license program for legislative changes, which include shortening the Class 7 learner's license period from 12 months to 8 months for those 16 years of age and older who take an approved and accredited driver's training course. So the driver's training would lessen your, the time to get a license. Yeah. So anyways, well worth reading, and you might notice that the ones that I did read, who was proposing and seconding, AM, Alberta Munis has now changed their rules so that you have to have, say, if somebody from a big city over 500,000 puts forth a motion, then somebody from another category like village or hamlet or town have to also be seconding it or proposing and have to have different categories doing that. So there I go, and we'll be voting on these in our convention in Red Deer.
You would think that decision would mean there would be less resolutions, but there seems to be more. Yeah, I mean, like you'd think that would limit the number of resolutions, because it would be more difficult to get one across the line, but hey.
Well, it means you have to talk to somebody else besides a like-minded, population-based, yeah. Okay, any other comments there, or somebody maybe would put forth a motion? Who hasn't put forth a motion? Councilor Boychuk, sorry.
I'll put forth the motion, but I also have a quick comment on the supportive housing one put in by the city of Red Deer. They happen to mention here since 2018, unsheltered homelessness has increased across our country 88%. So, this just goes to count that it's showing up everywhere. It's not our shelter that's attracting a whole bunch of unsheltered. It's just a massive wave across our province. So, and I'll put forward the motion to accept this briefing note as presented.
Thank you. Okay, all of those in favor of the motion? It is carried. Thank you. Next up, we have reports, council event attendance reports for myself, Deputy Mayor Shannon, Councillor Carr, Councillor Ford, and Councillor Scammahorn. Any comments or questions on Amy? Okay.
The council accepts reports 9-1 to 9-2. Pardon me, sorry.
Just save it for a second, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have the August 13th, Economic Development Committee meeting minutes. Councillor Shannon attended, or Deputy Mayor Shannon attended. Any?
That was one of our first meetings since the summer. We had some lively conversation and planning our year to come. Quite excited for the job fair coming up. I can't remember the date. I think it's 7th. So that was about all, but there was, if anybody has any questions in the details in the report, they can feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Any comments? Counselor Ford?
Yeah, the job fair, how was that advertised? Like as far as people that are putting tables into the job fair, how is that advertised or how do you recruit that?
I believe that they reached everybody from last year. They did phone calls. It's advertised on Facebook. I've seen a lot of the advertising.
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce is also helping with the recruitment of people.
If you wouldn't mind sending me that information, because I've been watching for it for my employer and I haven't seen it yet and I know they're interested.
I can make sure you get that.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, Counselor Good, you were thinking of a motion.
Sort of that, I'll move the council accept reports 9-1 to 9-2 for information.
Okay. All of those in favor of the motion? Great, it is carried. Okay, next up, we have information, council communication packages of, August 9th and August 16th. So, August 9th, one contains information from BC Hydro about the reservoir filling. And we recently received another memo that's, I think, an upcoming communication. They have started filling the dam this past, early this week. And, haven't heard differently, so things must be going fine. One of them, Northern Lakes College, is, advertising for its driver training program, like driving trucks. And of note, Peace River School Division's driver training for trucks has been advertised as well. And I think at least their first intake is full up sort of thing. So that's good news. Those are very expensive programs and it's good that the uptake is there. I also wanted to mention Chamber of Commerce here. They have a peer entrepreneurship program that's advertised in one of their newsletters. And I couldn't click to find out more about it, but it sounds like maybe that might be something of interest. And also the Peace Regional Air Monitoring Program had an ad for an education and outreach coordinator position if someone is so inclined for that sort of thing. Any others on the August 9th? Okay, then August 16th, what I noted here was, we had, our letter to Rotaract was part of that. Also Chamber of Commerce had a quite lengthy, a newsletter, I guess. Their golf tournament, which is, September, anybody? A couple of you are going to it. When is it?
It's on the, I should know that.
September, early September anyhow.
Going to which?
Golf tournament. I think you're going.
Friday.
Yeah.
To the chamber?
Well,
We have heard we put a team in.
yeah, I know. I was just saying, when is it?
I don't know.
The sixth.
The 5th? Okay, good.
Six.
They all 5th and 6th, okay? Job fair,
It's a Friday.
Orange on it, yeah. You said he was.
Going on?
Did they already have one or is this the one?
No, this
It's
is
an
the Chamber
upcoming.
of Tournaments Golf Tournament.
This
but
is
I
their
haven't-
annual September thing.
Yeah, I haven't heard the town has putting in the team yet, so I haven't been invited.
We sponsored a whole instead of a team.
Okay.
Ah. Ah. We'll have to ask it about that. Anyways, job fair, they mentioned that as well. So information might be in this Chamber of Commerce newsletter if you want to look through that. And the Mighty Peace Golf Club, I noticed that they're starting to advertise their Friday night or Saturday night entertainment types of things. So that was good. One that I wanted to bring up that has been sent out to council, so it's in the public, but there is a possibility that people in Lower West Peace, property owners that are in the cul-de-sac that is not paved. They apparently, according to the letter in our correspondence here, have all been sent a letter saying that if they wish to have their cul-de-sac paved, then they should get a petition together to say they want that to happen. So I just invite people to pay attention to that. I don't know what the dates are for, deadlines or anything, but Might be something they should look at. And you could keep October 18th free for the Art Hub Gala that we supported last year. So those are some of the things that I noticed. Anybody else? Okay, perhaps we could have a motion with respect to the communication
I'll move the
items.
council accept items 10.1 for information.
Thank you.
Item singular, apologies.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor of that motion, it is carried. Thank you. Okay, notice of motion, do not have any, and, okay, comments from the public, not at this point. Key communication items. Council, what are key communication items?
Core conduct bylaw and Norman Heat.
Northern Heat, Code of Conduct bylaw,
Spring fall cleanup.
spring and fall cleanup,
The sites, yeah.
Site C dam,
Yeah, just let me know.
the filling of it. Anything else that somebody wants to? Okay. Good. Okay, so now we're gonna take a short 5-minute break. We'll be back here at 6:31 and be moving into closed session. Thank you.
I,